Welcome in to another episode of the My Two Bits Gators Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ben, and I'm here with our other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, how you feeling, buddy? How's it going?
Mm, I tell you what, man, really excited for this one. Really excited. Still on that high from last weekend, this past weekend.
Yeah,
My
buddy.
ears are still ringing. Ears are still ringing.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting you were there, man. That must have been absolutely crazy there. It was as loud on TV as I've heard it in a while. And obviously you can't tell from when you're not there the real volume of it, but man, it must have been just rocking in there.
Yes, sir.
That is awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Really glad you were able to witness that firsthand, and I'm sure that'll help with some of your perspective that you can give us as we go through this as well. So, just walk everybody through the agenda real quick. So first off, we'd always like to go through and kind of talk about what our mission and our vision are to bring to this pod. So for our mission, we try to provide factual analysis. We do provide factual analysis
We
of
do.
all things Gator football. I hope we do more than try.
Yes.
For our vision, we want to have unfiltered conversation around the product on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis will be based on review of film and our evaluations of the strategy and tactics in the game. We may express opinions. We will express opinions. However, we try to always make sure those are backed up with some kind of factual evidence that can be seen and is not just a something that we're taking a flyer on. We also want to have observation of player personnel decisions and on the field execution. So, we have several different sections that we will cover with this. We start off with our exciting plays segment, which we call "Oh My" in honor of Mr. McHubert. We'll then go through our offense and talk about the chomp segment, so we can get into how the offense looked and some our thoughts there that we saw. We'll then go to defense with Gator bait. From there, we will have our visor throw segment. So this is our rants and raves, right? Things that we were not crazy about that took place in the game, which seems like there's always more than I would like, but but I don't think there are too many this week. Um, then we will do just a very brief overview of recruiting, just kind of an overall picture. Um, Sometimes won't be much of an update here. Sometimes will be more, obviously, depending on what the updates are on recruiting. Then we do a Pride of the Sunshine, and that Pride of the Sunshine is talking about the culture that we see on the team, on the sideline, things that we observed in that nature. Then we will do Move Back, You Suck in regards to our officiating and what we thought of some of the calls, which I realize may be a little bit questionable this week for sure. So we'll have some interesting conversation there, I think. And then lastly, we'll wrap it up. We'll go through our thoughts overall on where the team is, play a little game we like called Keep It or Pitch It for the next week and go over our results from Keep It or Pitch It from the previous week. And then we will tie back everything to kind of why we're doing this and what we want to do before we sign off. So, with that, let's get it started with a little, oh my. Why don't you start us off on the exciting plays from Saturday night in the swamp, buddy? What you got?
You know what? It was hard to watch the game, act like a maniac, jump up and down, take notes on my phone, go back to jumping up and down, and it was just, but it was a good balance. It was a good balance. I'll say that.
Good
I'll say
balance. I
that.
like it.
Yep, yep. You know what? I first and foremost, I'll start off with the fingertip catch. So I know we had a couple of them, right? So I'm just going to list my three there, right? We had 3rd and 11, Trey, fingertip, sideline catch for first down in the
Yeah.
first quarter. We
Yep.
had the youngster, right? The generational player, right? Legacy player, Khalil Jackson for first down. Another fingertip sideline catch. It
Toe
was just,
tap.
and toe tag, right? So either way, love the way that those two passes look. The other one here, which I'm sure is on a lot of Gator Nation's mind, ETN was 62-yard run, right? After he just pinged off a couple of people like a pinball.
Yeah.
That was great. Um, you know what? The one thing I really enjoyed seeing out of Graham, and I saw this later in the replay, they talk about his swag, right? How it didn't seem like he had a lot of swag at Wisconsin, but he's got some swag here because on
Yeah,
that
he
third and
does.
five rollout, that fake pass for first down, that was good. That was good. Really, really good.
Funny.
Um, the other thing I enjoyed was the interception. I mean, to have an interception like that, Big Dez piling up the middle for us, but I can't tell you the last time we saw an interception like that in that fashion, place going nuts. I thought that was fantastic. I tell you what, another play that was really unique to me was it ending out the second quarter. Mertz baited the defense, drew the defender, right? Took the tackle, but a nice sidearm, side out pass to
Yeah.
Johnson to walk into the end zone to make it 26-7, right? I
Yeah.
thought that was groovy. And then my last oh my, I know I got a lot. I know I got a lot, but the last oh my, people might not think a lot of this, but to me it does. Princely, you mean Amelia.
Yeah.
He chased down
Yeah.
Milton on that 2-point conversion. So you had Milton, which is about 6'4", 6'5", 230, and Princely at 6'5", maybe 6'6", 260, and just chased him down like it was nothing. Like we're playing in the
Yeah.
backyard. And
No, it was
so
impressive.
anyways, those are my oh my's, B.
And you're allowed to have as many as you want with a game like we had on Saturday, buddy. I would have let you go the whole show.
Fair enough.
No, that's great, man. I have two of the same. I have the Trevor run as well. That was, man, to see the combination, right? And they kind of talked about it a little on the broadcast, and I thought they really did a nice job of kind of encompassing what you saw there. To see the combination of strength, contact balance, and being able to then turn on the afterburners and just run away from guys, right? I mean, you don't necessarily always see that. Some of those DBs are fast, man, and he just ran away from them like he couldn't be caught. He wasn't gonna be
Nope.
caught. I mean, it was over as soon as he got half a yard clear of the guy that was, closest to his tail. Man, that was great. I was loving that. That was going nuts. I definitely loved the interception as well. I didn't have that one down, but I lit up when that happened. I probably should have had it down. Um, the Mertz scramble, you mentioned it. That pump fake
Mhm.
in particular, right? Two things about it. One, incredibly believable because Johnson just rolled out of the flat, right? So he had a receiver right there. The guy knew it. That was part of the reason why he got faked out by it, right? But then also just
Mhm.
the execution of that, man. That was a legit pump fake. Like that wasn't like a little half-hearted, oh, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna kind of fake it here, and it's a fake. No, dude, I thought he was gonna throw the ball. And he didn't.
Oh
I
yeah.
was it was almost AR level from last year at Utah on the turnaround jump pump fake. Not quite, not quite, but
Oh.
and
Mhm.
I'm not calling Mertz AR, let's be clear. But
I know.
not from an athletic standpoint anyway. But I'll tell you what, man, really really good stuff there. I really enjoyed that. And then I had Montreal for the touchdown on here. That cutback, dude, he cut on a dime and made two defenders go, oh, and totally broke their ankles and went right on in, man. I was like, I thought that was super impressive. Great vision to see that hole opening up while they're trying to set the edge and nobody on the backside, right? They didn't defend it right. They should have had one guy stay high and the other one set the edge. They didn't do that. They both went low. He said, no, I'm gonna go this way. And man, that was just beautiful. So that's what I've got. But there are so many, in my opinion, to choose from. What a great game. What a just man. I'm like you, man. I'm
Mhm.
definitely still riding the high. That was really good. We haven't had a signature win like that, especially conference wise, right, in a long time. I mean, Utah last year is probably the last one, but it's not the same, right? It's not the same when
Mhm.
it's not SEC. And man, that was such a good game and so much to talk about. So awesome, good stuff there. Love it. Let's get into talking some offense with the Chomp segment. So
Yes, sir.
I'll get this started off since you started the last one. So first
Yeah.
thing, we have two stats we always look at for each side, right? We talked about this. Our QB rating, their QB rating, and we use the NFL QB rating system, not the college one, because we think that one is a little too up and down, right? Don't like some of the swings that has, so we decided to go with the NFL rating. So Mertz's rating on the NFL scale was 109.38. So anything over 100 is considered good, like not maybe not really good, but pretty good. Last week, I believe, if I remember, he was in the 130s, so he was ridiculously good. This week, it's 109.38, still very solid, mistake
Mhm.
free, no picks, really really great decision making. Loved his reads, loved his checkdowns, loved his command of the field, and knowing where the receivers were. Thought he looked as good as he's looked as a Gator so far through 3 games. Really sharp, in my opinion. I really thought it was strong. Um, and then also we had our yards per carry. Now we kind of went back and forth on this. We kind of debated whether or not we're going to include the quarterbacks. Normally, we don't include the quarterbacks because their stats include sacks. However, this
Mhm.
week we did include them because we had a couple of rushes. Obviously, Milton had several rushes. Mertz had the 1 yard run for the touchdown again. So we did include, just to be fair on both sides, we did include quarterbacks' numbers in this. So our yards per carry average rushing was 4.68 yards per carry is what we came up with for that number. Including the QBs this time, which is north of 4.5 yards a carry, not half bad. Pretty good for SEC play. Would have loved it if we could get to 5, but hey, it's still pretty solid. Um,
Mhm.
so moving on from there, so then we'll of course compare that to what we see with Tennessee's when we get to the defensive side. So offense execution to the nines in the first half. I mean, just outstanding execution. I still have some questions about some of the play calling, but you know what? If the team executes it that well, maybe it doesn't matter. I haven't seen a half that clean out of Florida football in a long time. Long time. That was fun. That was fun to see that team play at that level. And we talked a little about Mertz's leadership before. Swagger, as you mentioned, man, I think he's a big part of the reason why. I think they have confidence in him. I think he has confidence in them. That it seems to show that way on the field anyway. And I'm really digging it. Um, I still do take issue, as I said, with some of the red zone play calling and some of the pass design. I think that's going to be something I say all year. Wins aren't going to make that go away. Only Billy can change it, and I don't think he's going to. So I think this is kind of where we are with him as an offensive play caller. I won't harp on it because I feel like it's going to be a theme. The only thing I'll say is it didn't bite us this week. We got away with it, even though at times it was not probably what I would have liked to see or what I think would have been optimal or most effective, right, in the situation. Um, but hey, it's not always perfect. We say this all the time, right? Things can be, less than perfect and still, if you execute them, as we mentioned, right, they can still go pretty well. So,
Yep.
um, I do think there are opponents this year that it won't be good enough against. And I'd still like to see some improvement there, but it is what it is. And again, if you execute that well and the defense plays that well, we'll get there in a minute.
Mhm.
We'll do pretty good. So this is going to be my hot take from the offense. The clock management in the second half from our team, right? Not from defensive, not that there was a problem defensively, but the clock management in the second half, in my opinion, bordered on being perfect. You have a team that can score in droves and ultra quick, right? The game plan for the whole game was keep the ball away, right? Clearly, it was keep the ball away from them, sustain long drives, which we did. However, in the second half, they took that to another level. So the one that I think Billy might catch some flack for is that drive with started with 8:41 on the clock. So I looked this up this afternoon and I was doing review. 8:41 left on the clock when we got the ball. When we took our first snap, we ran 7 plays, including the false start or not false start, the offsides penalty for them. 7 plays, 3 runs, 6 runs, and the penalty is all we ran, right? Because the penalty, Mertz rolled out or whatever, but it doesn't count. We took almost 5 minutes off the clock. We punted with 3:49 left. That is perfection. You basically took them to a place where they almost couldn't win the game off running 6 plays. So I know people are going to call it conservative. I know they're going to say, "Oh, it's a soft way to play or whatever." No, in my opinion, that is perfect clock management. You can't do it better. It's something Billy has struggled with, in my opinion. Right? We've had multiple conversations about his lack of ability to sometimes manage the clock in key situations. I thought that was perfect. I don't care if it was conservative. It should have been. That is how you do it. You keep the other team from being able to win the game. He effectively did that. I mean, he almost completely prevented them from being able to even have the time to score the 2 touchdowns that they needed, right? So to me, that's spot on. So I know when we talked earlier, you were saying a little about the conservative, ness of it, and I do agree it's conservative, but I also think it's super smart. So there you go. That's my take on the offense. What you got on the chomp segment for us, bud?
I got you, B. I got you. I hear that. Tale of Two Halves. Is that a book? No, it's Tale of Two Cities. My bad. Um, no, four straight touchdown drives. Now, again, the opening series, not the way we wanted it to end up. That's fine. But after that, four straight touchdown drives, right? I believe the word you used was execution, right, B?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So the word that I actually had was discipline. I felt like
Nice.
within the game plan that they wanted to run, going back to what Napier said, we need to get off to a fast start. We need to push tempo. We need to be set. We need to know our lanes. And that front four needs to block and execute and own our identity as a running team. And it's very hard to dispute. Say, yeah, they kind of didn't do that. They did it to a T, right?
Yeah, they
Here's
did.
the other interesting part, right? So we talk about plays per game. We talk about Tennessee's high potent offense. We talk about them averaging 75 plays a game, right? 150 plays first two games. First half, I'm not sure if you saw this, 42 plays we had. We were on pace for 84 plays in a game.
Wow. I did not see that. Nice stat.
Yeah, unbelievable. 42 plays and a half, right? And that just showed because when you look at everything as a whole and the way everything boiled down, time of possession, it's amazing, right? 37 minutes, 28 seconds to 22 minutes, 32 seconds.
Yeah.
Massive
Yeah, huge
discrepancy
gap.
for Tennessee, right?
Huge gap.
And so everything that we needed to do. And so that first half was orchestrated so well. And when you look at what the defense did, uh, phenomenal. I know we'll get to that in a second. But the other thing too is when you play complementary football, it makes both sides better. I felt like the offense had the swag working. I felt like the offense was in rhythm as far as the different things that they were able to do. Now, true, towards the end, it might have gotten a little bit slow, but all in all, I'd like to call that a massive victory when it comes to the flow of the offense. Play calling, sure. Is there still a bit more to be desired? Sure. I'd say on the first half, we got our vanilla ice cream. You know what? We got some fudge on it and we got some sprinkles. We didn't quite add another flavor, a strawberry or a chocolate, but we add a little bit of variation to that vanilla. So I love to see it. And I love to see what the offensive line, because if you remember, the talk was this Tennessee front, this defensive front,
Yeah.
they were a terror,
11
right?
sacks coming in. 11 sacks coming in through two games.
Right? They were a problem. Well, it didn't seem like they were in that first half. So everything I got in the
Hey,
first half
for the
there.
whole game, really. I mean, honestly, they didn't get a ton of penetration. I didn't see big problems there. Yeah, they shut down some runs in the second half when they had 8, 9, 10 in the box at one point. Yeah, okay, well, anybody's going to do that, right?
Yeah,
That's not anything impressive. And again, I'm not taking credit away from Tennessee. I'm with you. The offensive line was
yeah,
great. So yeah, really good point there.
yeah. So outside of that, I will humbly disagree with you in the sense that in the second half, don't get me wrong, you play to win, you get conservative, play management, clock management. I get it. Again, Graham only threw four times in the second half, completed two of them. Was it because of the thumb? Was it because of the hand? Was it because of the laceration? Maybe. Was it because we need to keep the ball on the ground and pound it? Maybe. Either way, sometimes it's tough because this game, I think technically, this is hard for me to say, but I feel like this game was over at halftime. You never say that about a college game. You never say that about a potentially potent offense like Tennessee has. But at this point in time, I want to say that that game was over at halftime. And sometimes when you play for the win like that, it can end up biting you in the rear end. And so in the second half, I would like to have seen, yeah, you get a little bit conservative. Instead of going 90, you pull it back to maybe 78, put the cruise control on, but you still got your foot mashed down on the pedal a good way. I felt like we took it back to like 55 miles an hour. The engine was barely idling, and we're just like, okay, when are we getting there? When are we getting to the end? When are we getting to the end? Let's just get out of here. Let's just get out of here. So that was just my take on it. Outside of that, really, really proud of the guys. They came out and executed well. And I feel like they really wanted to show the breadth of the offense, especially in that first half, to punch them in the face real quick, like Tyson
Yeah.
used to do to people, in to make up for Utah. But either way, it was exciting. It was definitely exciting.
Yeah, no, it was. It was. And I hear you on the second half. I think that take is valid. It's just not the one that I have.
Fair enough, man.
So yeah, and we definitely are certainly prone to disagree at times, and I think on that one we definitely do because I just saw a great way to keep an explosive team from being able to have enough time to do anything, and I just thought that was great. So anyway, moving on. Gator bait defense. You start us off. What you got?
All right, man. This defense, like we talked about before, playing free, playing wild, doing some amazing things. So I enjoyed watching them in that first half. Played really, really complimentary football to the offense, did their best to keep the offense on the field. But the other thing that they did outside of that first drive, which here's the thing, that first drive that Tennessee had, no problem. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I get it. It's really hard when you look at the basis for how Tennessee's offenses form. And arguably Austin Armstrong had a really, really tough task getting these guys ready for this game. But I just enjoyed the way they approached it. I enjoyed them jumping up on the sideline and just acting a fool. Couple of things that stood out to me was Big Dez wrapping up Joe Milton, right? 435 pounds, wrapping up another 235 pounds. And he felt it. And so that was phenomenal. I thought the pick was great coming back. That's why I had it in my oh my section. A couple other things was I saw a lot of batted balls, right?
Yep.
And so what I
Yep.
mean by that is Jalen Kimbrough had a really, really good pass breakup in the third quarter. That was a 3rd and 7. It forced 4th and 7. They didn't go for it. They kicked a field goal. That's what made it 26-10. Outside of that, we had a couple more on the outside. Everything was contested, and this one was tough for me is to see the scheme that we played and the contain was good. The second half, it was tough to see them push the ball, especially the running back getting on that big pile and push
Yeah.
it over. But outside of that, I really enjoy the fact that, and here's the thing, Tennessee came out much differently in the second half, as we thought they would, as we figured they would, as they did. But we're still able to contain. We're still able to limit some big plays, right? I get it. A couple of the passes over the shoulder, those are some great throws, great catches, no problem with that. And there's the other thing too, like as we realize, if you're going to play that kind of defense, if you're going to play that kind of man, you're going to get beat, right? The catch is, can you limit how many times you get beat, and can you contain everything else? And when I look at everything else, and when you look at their running back, very capable, very, very capable, have had some big
Both of
games
them.
in the SEC. Yeah,
Both of them are. Yeah.
right. And when you look at what we were able to do to shut them down from that standpoint, it's just absolutely phenomenal. Okay. Because Wright had less, I want to say less than 65 yards, Small had less than 40 yards, period. Right. And no
Yep.
touchdowns, no big explosive plays. That
No,
was
none.
contained. Enjoyed seeing that. The only thing outside of that is I gotta hot, I gotta critique a little bit. Scooby had a couple of missed tackles. I know he was going for himself for some Scooby snacks, but he missed a couple of tackles open. Um, Castell missed an open tackle here and there. James missed an open tackle for loss. And especially coming out third quarter, we had a couple of times to tackle them, to put them 3rd and long, to put them 2nd and long, and we just missed it. And they exploded that to be able to get a first down and push the ball down the field a little more. Cam Jackson had himself 2 batted balls, right? Really, really well. I thought another play that was really unique is Mitchell had a particular move in the third quarter coming out of the third quarter. And if you notice his move, he came up to the line of scrimmage. Milton stopped, checked, changed play. Next thing you know, game clock's at 5 seconds. It's coming down. Play clock is at 5 seconds coming down. They had to burn a timeout, right?
Yep.
They used 2 timeouts in the third quarter on
Yep.
their first offensive drive. I thought that was huge, right?
Yep. That was
And
a
so
scheme thing. That was a scheme thing. All credit to Armstrong on that, in my opinion.
bingo, bingo. And so anyways, I look at where the guys play. I look at the different times we got beat. And at the end of the day, if you're playing that way and you have the confidence to play that way, you're going to get beat. No problem. When you look at everything else in totality and what was shut down, what was produced, what was created, and the confidence that I think some of these younger guys got by saying, hey, guess what? This was our scheme. This was our MO. We did it. I think that's a massive confidence booster, especially against this Tennessee offense and what Heupel likes to do. So that's it. That's all I got for Gator bait, B.
I love it, man. I love it. Really, really agree with some of the takes, like some of the points you made there. I have similar ones, and I've got some stats I want to throw out too. So we'll start with the stats that we talked about at the beginning of each of these segments, or at the beginning of my part anyway. For the QB rating for the opponent as well as yards per carry. So if you recall, Mertz offensively had a 109.38. Mr. Milton was 93.63. Now, we already said anything over 100 is good. So what does that make things under 100? Not as good. Now, it's close. It wasn't terrible. He didn't play horrifically or anything like that. But frankly, the way those numbers are calculated, those stats are pumped up by a couple of those big throws that he had. Getting those long completions helps him on that. And realistically, I thought we actually did a fantastic job of taking away what he wanted, taking away his first read a lot, right? He had to kind of maneuver that a little bit. And to your point, a lot of that goes to scheme, which I'll talk more to in a second. Yards per carry under 4. Anytime you're under 4 yards per carry against a team that actually rushes the ball very well, I believe they came in over 5.5 yards a carry. Took care of that, didn't we? Yeah, we shut down that running game. And to your point, they got a few extra ones they probably shouldn't have because we didn't, put the guy down when he's grinding his
Yeah.
legs and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't love that either. But hey, it's tough. They're out there fighting in the heat, and it's hard to give them too much flack for a couple of those when the rest of the game was as good as it was. So my overall thoughts on the defense now that we got through those two stats there. First word I have on my notes is wow. That's just wow, man. I was excited coming into the week. That we talked about it. I really have hope that this could be a serious defense. If you look at some of the comparative numbers, um, for this team right now, they are really, really good, and they're complete all around good. It's not like they're just good against the run, right? There are teams that are really good against the run, but they're a little suspect against the pass, or they're great against the pass and a little suspect against the run, right? A lot of that has to do with the coverages you're playing a lot of the time, right? Not this team.
Mm-hmm.
We are balanced. We are still, after playing Tennessee, we did drop a couple rankings, which is expected, right? We're 10th overall in yards per game, but we are still first in the SEC for yards per game allowed.
Oh my.
First. Yeah, buddy. Oh my is right. That is phenomenal. I cannot tell you how happy I am to have a defense that is good. And I am confident in saying this is a good defense at this point. And it's all about that coaching and that difference with AA, man. He did a masterful job. His scheme was beautiful. Man coverage all night, all over the place, all over the field, very little zone. Yes, correct. That's how you play Tennessee, right? That's how you match
Yeah.
up with those guys outside. And yeah, to your point, you get burned every once in a while. They're really good players with a really good offensive scheme. Look, shutting that team down completely is almost impossible to do, but I'll throw another stat at you. 16 points allowed is the third lowest ever in Heupel's tenure at Tennessee by any
Mm-hmm.
team they played. That speaks volumes for what this defense can do. Just volumes, in my opinion. Loved we had cover one, love we had cover zero, like you mentioned at times, right? We didn't throw a ton of cover zero in there. Probably actually could have played a little more and gotten away with it against the way
Maybe.
they're set up. But hey, it was
Yep.
okay. I also liked that as the game moved on, he modified his scheme. That Herbie actually pointed it out on the broadcast, and I noticed it as
Oh, yeah?
well. We started to play more two deep safety later in the game because we knew they were probably going to pass the ball as opposed
Yeah.
to running the ball. So you didn't lose that inside protection against the run completely, but you set yourself up to be able to be more well protected against the pass. You mentioned Castell. I have to tell you, I don't know if you saw, Castell won all SEC honors for the week at safety, along with Cam Jackson at D line. Both of those guys awarded all SEC. I'm not exactly sure how ETN did not also, but he didn't. So
Interesting.
I don't know who ran better than Trevor this weekend, but maybe there was somebody.
Nobody.
I didn't watch all the other games, so I don't know. I won't say. But my goodness, I was shocked that he didn't get it. But very happy to see two guys get on that list, and that hasn't happened since the South Carolina game last year, by the way. So interesting little point to note that any Gator has made it. That is.
My
So
word.
only downside, and you kind of brought it up a little bit. Scooby did have a couple missed tackles. Shamar James had like three missed tackles. Castell
Yep.
did have one. Mitchell had a couple. We had a lot more missed tackles than what we'd seen in the first couple games. Now, to an extent, SEC team, especially Tennessee, who gets guys in space, right, makes you miss. I can forgive it a little bit, but it's not something that I want to see a trend, right? Let's hope we can bounce back off that and not have too much of that going forward. But overall, man, I am just stoked. I am so happy to see this as a good defense. We talked about this in our season preview. If we have a solid defense, which it sure seems like it's pretty darn solid to me, and we have an offense that's competent, which it certainly was in this game, and a quarterback who can be that, that ever maligned game manager, right? But I'll tell you what, game manager and field general, like we talked about, man, he is fantastic at doing that thus far in the year. And that combination is going to produce some winning football, in my opinion.
Bingo.
I really think that is going to produce some winning football. I'm very excited about where this team's going when you look at the combination of both what we have on offense from an execution standpoint, from a game management standpoint, right? And then from what's going on the defensive side of the ball. That is just really got me hyped up. It's really good stuff. So with that, we'll close the book on what we're talking about with the defense there, and we will move on to the visor throw. So let's get our rants and raves out. Let's get our beefs off our chests, right? Get them out there. So I'll get it started off here.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
Mahalik, man, Mahalik. I don't want him seeing the field again in a Gator uniform. It's not personal. I'm not trying to be harsh. He's just not good enough. Period. He clearly has anxiety or something when he's kicking. I don't know, because apparently in practice he's very good from everything I'm hearing. But in the game, we've seen it time and time and time again. Whether it was missing a 30-yarder against Utah, why? 30-yarder, come on. Or the debacle that was kicking until Smack started taking the place kicks in the game, which I know Smack's got some accuracy issues that have been discussed and whatever. I don't care. He kicks the ball way better. The ball itself in the air looks better than Mahalik's best kicks. I'm done. I don't want to see him again. I'm worried we will, because special teams is just clearly going to be the Achilles heel of this team all season. But man, I don't want to see it. I'm over it. Um, so enough of that. Passing routes, again, often pedestrian. There were some times where they were a little better at points, right? Some of those guys getting open on the sideline, like you mentioned, right? And some of those great catches, but a lot of that was kind of the play breaking down in cases and them just kind of finding spots. Khalil found a nice spot in the zone, and Mertz put a dime on that throw that he toe tapped on the sideline. That was really, really good. But
Yep.
overall, I mean, they showed a play where we saw from the quarterback's perspective, and we got one guy running a go route and the other guy running a crossing route right underneath him, and that's all we got. And other than check downs, right? And it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. I already talked about it. I'm going to keep talking about it. It is what it is, man. Until something gets better there, I'm gonna talk about it. So enough about that. Last thing I have is something that I do not normally do. I don't normally call out another team, but after the behavior I saw at the end of that game, between whether it being the timeout or the unnecessary hit on Mertz, and I don't want to hear that they were playing to win. I don't want to hear it. There was 9 seconds left in that game, or 14, I guess, when they took the timeout. Excuse me, 14 seconds left when they took the timeout in that game. You're down 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. The game's over. Don't do it. And what to me compounded that is all the quote unquote injuries we saw throughout the game from them. Now, I'm not going to say that a couple guys weren't hurt. They clearly looked hurt when they got up. But there are another couple guys that didn't look so hurt, right? Got up under their own power. You made mention of that, right? And pretty much got to the sideline without too much incident. So I don't know exactly how hurt they were. Now you might say, well, why do we care, right? Well, from a game theory standpoint, if you're trying to milk the clock of the opponent so that they can't get the ball back and the offense has some rhythm to it, which it did, that can take out both of those things, right? Because you have a tendency, though Mertz did a really good job, by the way, on that last one, of not snapping the ball too soon, right? Because you can go in, you can be in your rhythm, you can just snap that ball and you would still have 30 seconds on the play clock. He let that sucker go all the way down to under 10 before he snapped it. He did a really good job there. That was really, really nice game management, really smart. However, having said that, it still disrupts the flow, right, of the offense. You've got these weird breaks that are coming in. Normally during a drive, it's a drive. You keep playing, right? Not when that happens. So I am, after seeing what I saw at the end of that game and the very, very unsportsmanlike behavior, in my opinion, of the opposing head coach, Mr. Heupel, I don't know if that wasn't part of the strategy as far as those quote unquote injuries go. Now, again, this is not something I would normally say. I'm not one to kind of go down to this level, but when it's that blatant, in my opinion, I'm going to call it out. And I thought it was absolute trash. So that's my visor throw. That's where I'm at. What you got? Where's your beef this week?
For sure, B. No, hey man, I feel you. I feel you on all those. I a similar, comparison. As far as similar points, Heupel takes that. I get it, man. Oklahoma back in the day, quarterback slinging the ball here and there, right? Goes to UCF, has some success, then up the ranks, and next thing you know, he's coaching at Tennessee, right? Good old Rocky Top. I really didn't expect that at the end. So I agree with you there. It's so funny when you said Mahalik. I thought you said alcoholic. I was like, what? Oh, Mahalik. Okay, yes. And then you said in practice he's very good. He kicks from like 60 in practice. I'm like, yeah, he does. Wait a minute. Another guy was really, really good in practice. AR. Like really
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like stage fright.
Yeah.
I don't get it. You remember back in the days, this was a while ago, but Eddie Pinheiro came on. This little
Yeah.
kid, a little Latino, and all of a sudden the whole stadium, Eddie. I'm like, is that what we've resorted to on special teams again? We need a savior to come in on special teams, right?
We need
Um,
something.
we need something, right? And then along the lines of the kicking game, Jeremy Crawshaw. You know what? Good guy. You know what? Aussie, whatever. I think this is interesting. 12 out of 14 punters in the SEC, fun fact, are Australian. Did you know
Yep.
that?
Yep.
12 out of 14.
They talked about it on the broadcast, actually. It's funny.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Funny. Okay, I guess I fast forwarded that part of my film review. But get this, 61 out of 133 in FBS.
Yeah.
61 out of 133.
Yeah, it's
So,
wild.
first of all, I get it. Rugby, different ball, bigger, oblong, whatever. Drive it. Jeremy Crawshaw, what are you doing averaging 35 yards a punt in this game and a shankopotamus with two of them?
Yeah.
Come on, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Come
42,
on.
42.2 on the season, by the way. We called for over 50 as being desired, and we're well short of that so far.
Right? I'm like, hey, Mike, come on. Do I have to go take you to Bar, get your Foster's, and get your kick straight? I mean, I don't know what to do. It's just unreal, right? So, anyways, that aside, down lineman, down four times down lineman, pausing, suspending. Lord forgive me. I hope they're okay. I really do. But at the end of the day, it really just seemed like it just disrupted the flow, and it was
Mhm.
purposeful. It was purposeful. It was intentional. And out of the five times linemen went down, four did not need assistance to get up.
There you
I'm just
go.
saying, four
Yeah,
did not need assistance. Only
not a.
one did. So
It's not a good look.
and that's the thing, is like, do you don't anticipate that, right? You just play, hard nosed, tough Southeastern Conference football. So it is what
Yep.
it is.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and my last one for visor throw, Gator Nation might disagree with me on this one. Dan Mullen. Da- Dan
Yes.
Mullen.
Yes.
Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen. I don't know where you get off saying the things that you said coming into that game. I don't know where you get off trying to maybe save your reputation. I don't know. I don't know. But the totality of your impact in this program was felt. And Coach Napier is doing his best to run this program as best as he can. But not to mention that, but to run it the right way, the Gator way. And
Yeah,
in
buddy.
doing so, he's doing it by making these kids believe in loyalty, togetherness, integrity, and distributing or displaying no fear, because there's pure strength in numbers. No teams are in silos. Everyone communicates. Everyone works together as a cooperative, functioning, forceful unit. Take that.
I love it. I love it. That's great. I love that you have Dan Mullen on my advisor throw. That's fantastic, and he's deserving of it. He talked a bunch of smack this week going into this game. Picked Tennessee to win, for those of you who don't know, and made a bunch of comments about how things aren't really going as well as they should be under Napier, and it's just taking all kinds of shots. And man, take that as right. That's just well said. Well said. So. Um, with that, we will close the book on our visor throws, and we'll
Yep.
clean that sucker up, put it in the wash for another week, and hopefully it'll stay a little whiter next week. But I doubt it. I feel like there's always going to be something. So, moving on, let's talk a little recruiting. Um, don't want to go too deep here, but we'll just kind of go a little high level. This was a huge, all caps, huge recruiting weekend. We had a ton of currently committed guys, right? Potential committed guys for both 2024 and 25. And to come in and have that kind of game in the swamp with it rocking and rolling. I heard multiple players talking about they couldn't hear themselves speak, right, from the recruits when I was reading what their thoughts were on the game. Um, I guarantee it pays dividends for us, and it already has. Waltez Clark, 4-star, just outside top 100 running back for 2025, already committed that night. He was like, "Yep, I'm in." So you're already seeing it bear out. I think there's some other guys in 24 class that may have been impacted by this, that may pay us dividends to continue to build that class. So really good stuff. Any thoughts you've got on recruiting just from the meta?
No, that's it. I'll echo that. If Gator Nation's curious, 14 of our 21 hard commits for that 2024 class, they were present, their eyes were open, and they were loving it. DJ Lagway leading the charge. He brought some of his friends with him, so he's going to continue to recruit for us. And so this was not just a statement win. This was, I think, people disagree that they're psychological victories. I think this is a massive psychological recruiting victory.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. All right. So, Friday the Sunshine, talk a little culture. What you got for some things you saw as far as culture went from this game? I'm sure there are plenty we can call out, but what do you got going on your side?
Man, there's so much I can call out. So much I can call out. But I'm gonna leave it to a top three, top four, right? First of all, Graham Mertz. All right. This guy, I know they said he didn't have swag at Wisconsin, but boy, he found some swag in the South. That's all I'm gonna say. Swag in the South. My man, after that rushing touch, that short rushing touchdown, he came to the sideline, he grabbed the scepter, took a big swing. All the players went back, massive home run. I love what he's doing. I love how he's dabbing up teammates. I love how he's bashing helmets with teammates. I love how he's constantly talking to teammates and slapping them on the head and slapping them on the shoulder pad and pumping his fist at him. I love the fact that he went out there in the second half, no questions asked, right? Bloody hand, jammed hand, cleated hand, whatever. I mean, he could have been, all jacked up for intents and purposes. Maybe that's why he only threw 4 passes in the second half. It was calculated, no problem. He went out there, didn't make a mistake, literally played almost a fairly flawless game. So Mertz is a big part of sunshine for me because I see what he's doing. He's buying into that culture. So that's awesome for me. The second pride of sunshine, the swamp was alive. And for those of you who were there, right, for that 90,700 and whatever the number, holy smokes, that place was rocking, absolutely rocking. The end of the third quarter, the light show, the Tom Petty, the tribute, just everything as a whole. The swamp was alive. It was alive and well. It showed up and it gave Tennessee fits,
Yeah, it did.
obvious fits, right?
Oh, but
Um,
but Heupel after the game said the crowd noise wasn't a factor, right? You have to throw that out there. Yeah, okay, buddy. Whatever you say.
yeah, of course it didn't lead to 5 false starts, but whatever, dude. Whatever, dude. Yeah. So another part of sunshine for me was UF President Ben Sass and AD Scott Strickland. They waited for Napier in the tunnel after he got off the field after they were going to the F Club. Waited for him. Waited for him, embraced him. That's huge. That's your boss, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you got other bosses, and yeah, you got Gator Nation, and yeah, you have, 500 million alumni and all this other junk. But at the end of the day, that's where it stops. And to see that support for a coach who's been scrutinized, right? Eight losses faster than any other coach, right? In Florida's tenure in recent history. So I was just really happy to see that for him and to hear Billy's relief at the end of the game and in his press conference this morning thanking the fans and things like that. That was a really good. So my thing is hopefully we can deal with that success in the right way moving forward compared to
Mhm.
last year. But outside of that, that's my pride of the sunshine, man. That's I'm going to leave it right there. Those three things, because I think everything else was said about the offense before and in oh my, and so that's my top three.
I love it. I love how passionate you are about this. This. So when we were building this, I'll take this back just real briefly. When we were building
Yeah,
this whole thing out, right, and we're coming up with our agenda and things we want to talk about, things we want to include. You know, I think you were as big on this. I mean, frankly, the reason this is in here is because of you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I love that it is now. I wasn't against it at all, but it, just wasn't an idea that necessarily came to me the same way. Your passion for this is evident, man, and I love it. And I think it is really important, and I think it gets overlooked because it's something that you can't see, right?
yeah,
We're just now finding out about how bad the culture was under Mullen, right? And there's an article that came out and we both read it and everything else, and it matters. It matters to what goes on the field, because when you do face adversity, when you do, when you aren't playing your best or things don't go your way, right? How do you respond? Well, this team had that happen in Utah, right? They didn't play their best, things didn't go their way, shot themselves in the foot, and at really bad times, right? We talked about it. And how does this team respond the next two games? They look like the best version of a Billy Napier team at Florida that I've yet to see. And I have zero doubt in saying that. They were consistent. They were well disciplined, as you mentioned, right? These things all go to culture. They do, because they don't happen if you don't have belief along with the fundamentals and everything else that you cover at practice. But if you don't have that belief in yourself and your teammates, you're not going to see it consistently. And man, did we see it consistently, and I love it.
There you
Um,
go.
so I have Mertz's leadership on here as well. Love how he just, man, he's always just got these guys going with him, right? Going around smacking helmets as you've talked about, right? Going and celebrating with the O line when they score. Just really showing signs that it certainly seems genuine. Some of these guys, they're kind of rah-rahing it, and I don't know if how real it is. I'm sure they're happy when good stuff happens, but are they happy for the team, or are they more kind of happy for themselves? I don't know. Mertz seems like the genuine deal to me, man. I don't see any signs in anything he said and anything he does that doesn't just show me that he is believing, right? And that is really, really awesome. And then I just kind of said it, but I'll make the point again. The first half execution here again, right? Just seeing that you don't have that without culture being at the forefront. You just don't, because these guys were working together as a unit as well as any Florida team I've seen. And I've been watching Florida for a long time, probably longer than I want to admit, right? But no, so that it just really, really great stuff. Love the point you made. Obviously, I didn't know that about Strickland and Sass being down there to congratulate Napier, but that goes to the whole thing, right? It's a whole culture. It's
Yep.
a university culture, not just a team culture, right? It goes beyond that. And that's just exceptional. So from there, we will close the book on Pride of the Sunshine. We'll move on to Move Back, You Suck. So, little officiating review. This is going to get a little interesting. So, I'm going to keep my part short as I try to do here and let you expound a little more because you are the resident expert. Again, for anybody who might be listening to this for the first time, Randy does do high school football officiating throughout the season. So, he's got a unique perspective on this. Um, I thought the refs were okay. I think they got most of the calls right, but they definitely missed some on the Gators. So I feel like I'm saying this every week now, which I guess that's good. I'd rather be saying it this way than the other way, I suppose. Honestly, I want a well officiated game, but I try my best to take my bias that is certainly there out of this equation. But there was a blatant hold in the fourth quarter on Austin Barber that they didn't call. I mean, it was bad. Now, granted, the play went for a loss, so I'm not even sure if it would have been accepted. But you got to throw a penalty when there's a penalty, right? You just got it, and it was ridiculously obvious. I don't know what the back judge was looking or maybe not looking at, as the case may be, because it was right in front of ETN too. It was right in front of him. Like, I don't know how you missed that one. And then the PI or lack of PI, it was I believe it was Kimber in coverage, if I remember correctly. Um, I think it was because that was when he got hurt. He tugged on that jersey pretty good and definitely disrupted that play. Now, I watched that play again in film review. I'm not sure that ball was catchable. It was close,
Hmm.
but the refs didn't signal uncatchable, right? Like they're supposed to, if that's why they didn't call PI. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it was. I think if I was gonna, if you forced me to an answer, I'd say it was uncatchable. So maybe that's what happened, but they didn't motion for that over the head call, right? To show that. So again, I feel like it was a missed call there. Now, I don't think they saw the jersey grab itself. I think the angle was off for that, but you could see, I don't remember the receiver for Tennessee who it was on. I should, and I don't. But you could see him like pull back from the jersey pull. Like it was obvious. I mean, it was obvious and it didn't get flagged. Um so those are the two that kind of stood out to me as being missed calls. Again, they were in Florida's favor, but I'm still going to call them. The most controversial thing I saw was that respot on fourth down. Now, they gave the Gators a chance to sub out players, right? And Heupel was furious about it, right? They showed the replay. That ref did kick the ball clearly inadvertently. He did not do it on purpose. Like he was looking the other way. It was clearly an accident, and the ball has to be respotted when that happens, right? That's the rule. But can you expound on that, and then anything else you've got for officiating? That's all I've got, buddy. What's your take?
Nah, but you're good. You're good. You're spot on. So, um, I will talk to that in a second. But yeah, so on that PI, that missed PI, that was Castell who tugged, and Kimber was the one who went down because Kimber had the cramp,
Oh,
right?
okay. Okay.
So it was Castell who, I mean, it wasn't a tug of the jersey. He was about to yank his jersey off. But yes, if the pass was that high, which it was probably at least 5 to 7 yards outside of the end zone line, right? The end line.
Yep. Agreed.
Signal uncatchable ball then, but they did not. So that was interesting. Um, the other one I had spot on, Austin Barber. I think the cameraman helped us with that one because he literally zoomed in on the bottom right corner of the TV when I was watching the film review. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, his jersey's not supposed to go that way. Okay, yeah, Austin, what are you doing? Right, getting your big paw in there. So that was that. The official kicking the ball, allowing the reset and substitution. So this is bogus because honestly, I've never seen that happen. I've never seen that happen before. So the official's part of the field. These are things that happen. If the ball, based off what I know, if the ball is not spotted properly, it's official's timeout or it's official's time, whatever,
Right.
go back and reset it. That official, it's hard to believe that he didn't even feel his foot touching the ball. Maybe
Yeah.
because it was that loud, I don't know. And then the reverb and the noise, just he was just not there, right? And so that's why you saw some of our linebackers point after
Yep.
the center grabbed the ball and reset it.
Yep.
And so what did the umpire, or I guess it was the umpire, whoever else was there
Yep.
close, came, got it, reset it, but that's what allowed the substitution. And as we know what happened after that, Scooby got himself a Scooby snack and stopped him on fourth down. So that was that. But weird play, man. Like I've never seen that happen before. I really have never seen it. But who's to say that? It's kind of hard, right? Because I know a lot of Tennessee. I spoke to a couple Tennessee fans going, "Boy, you guys really paid the refs this week." And I said, "Well, it's interesting. I can see how you would say that based off the favoring of the calls, because in addition to Barber, George had a holding call in the second quarter that again was not called, right?
I missed that one.
Yeah, it was the start of the second quarter. Again, a nice short run. It was when ETN picked up about 7 or 8 yards on a run. But again, just here's the thing that's hard about a hold. Is there holding on pretty much every play? Yes. Some more obvious than none. But when that player tries to release and the hips turn and you see that jersey go another way or the pads go another way, then that's holding because you're restricting that motion, right? So that is what it is. So the other thing that I think, and Gator Nation's going to hate me for this one, but go to the blind side block that was called on the 2nd and 12 when Tennessee was driving. Listen, I've called a blindside block or 2 or 10. That was not a blindside block. Yes.
Even though he hit him in the side of the helmet, I got to ask the question because he did hit him in the side of the helmet. I agree it wasn't hard. I agree it wasn't, anything that was going to, heck, he got up and almost made the tackle anyway, right? But even though it wasn't, a hard hit, he still did catch him in the side of the helmet, right? And he wasn't looking that way. So I mean, I think there's a letter of the law thing there, and you'd know it better than I would. I think there's a letter of the law thing there that could be justified in that call. Why do you say that it wasn't specifically? What makes it not, in your opinion?
Because two things. When you look at the angle, right, there was, although he was not technically defenseless, he had enough time to react, so he felt him. He knew he was there, presence-wise, field-wise. He knew it was there. Secondly, as far as it was shoulder first, then helmet. Third, there was less than 25 pounds per square inch of pressure on the contact. I'm kidding on the 25. I'm kidding. I'm just saying.
Obviously, but that's good. That's good. I like it.
I'm just saying it was a nudge, right? Now, if he had completely face planted him, then sure, yeah, absolutely.
Right, but it wasn't that hard of a hit, is what you're saying. In other words,
it was not that impactful. And so when I look at a block in the black, right? This he's not expecting you to come in, and you just you mash him over. And yeah, absolutely. But he got him with the shoulder, and it was a tug, and it was a jolt, and it was oh crap, he got me. And of course he's gonna flail, and the side judge right there is gonna go, oh yeah.
Beep. So interesting that you bring up block in the back, because I feel like if you put a finger on a guy's back and tap him on the shoulder from behind, it's a flag. Like, it is ridiculous how quickly they will call an illegal block in the back. Even think about touching a guy, right? So it's interesting that you compare that there, because are they using the same standard? Is that why, right? Unless the guy can clearly see him coming, and that's evident, right? Then any other circumstance, it's now a blindside block. I don't know. I'm with you. I definitely think it was controversial. I I can I can see a way that it goes either way. And again, I know I have bias, but I swear I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
feel the same way on the other side. It could have I could have seen it going either way. Is the best thing I could say about that. Just because I do think from what I saw on film that it was at least, like I said, letter of the law. I feel like it wasn't totally off base. I get there are a lot of extenuating factors, and that's
Yep.
fair. But I can
And
I can see how you call it. I don't think it was like, "Oh my god, that was horrifically wrong." But I also see that, yeah, it was probably ticky-tack, right?
yeah, and that's what's tough because listen, people might disagree, but the SEC, when it comes to football, college football, the SEC is football. The dominant league, the dominant broadcast when it comes to contract negotiation, TV deal.
Yep,
There's a reason why we're going to welcome a couple new schools here,
yep,
right?
for sure.
And so, right, so you look at that, but the officiating, and again, folks, I know I'm an official for FHSAA. I get it. There's only 5 of us on the field. In college, you got 8 on the field plus the eyes in the sky. All I'm saying is, from a consistency standpoint, that's the main thing I have with SEC officials. It's the level of consistency that is not there. Because if you're going to call one thing, you should call the other. And sometimes it's just not there. But I get it. They're humans. They make mistakes. And
Yep,
and that's the thing for me being a side judge. It's unique the amount of challenges that you have coming your way when when you got coaches yelling, you got fans yelling, you got this one yelling, you got that, and you've got to stay on point and look at your discipline and look at your assignments and just make a judgment call in less than 2 shakes of a cat's tail, and that's that.
yeah, yep. No, that's well said. That's well said for sure. Good deal. Any other officiating things you want to point out, or are we good?
No, I think that's it. It was a shame what happened at the end. I think they did the best they could in lieu of the melee that happened. We got a couple of suspensions
Yeah.
dealt out,
Yes.
unfortunately, 3 to
Yep.
us, 1 to them, but they're only going to miss the first half, and you deal with it in time. Flags offset, but
Yep.
it's a shame that timeout was called. And I could be wrong about this, but I feel like that timeout led to the growing frustration, which led to the late hit on Mertz, which led to the further extracurriculars. That's it.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. All right. With that, let's move it to the wrap up. So, let you
Yeah.
start this one off. Give me your thoughts on where we are as a team after a solid win.
Yeah, man. And you know what? I kudos to you. And I didn't say this earlier. I had it written in my notes, but I just didn't say it. 16 points.
Yep.
16 points for a highly potent offense
Yep.
like that. A SEC defense, top ranked defense, and held them to 16 points. I got to say, it's interesting to me what this defense started off as being and now what it is morphing into. And if they're just going to get better incrementally week by week, then I'm going to go back to a word that you used before to describe this defense. And not just special, but you said scary. And
Hmm.
it has all the inner workings of being that. So that's going to be phenomenal. Austin Armstrong, double A, is an absolute wild man. And I love it. I love seeing him jumping up and down the sidelines. I love seeing him trying to chest bump players and getting falling back and his visor coming off and his headset coming off. I love it. That's the type of, and I think that's what really, and this sounds strange, but it actually juxtaposes well to Billy's more stoic,
Yeah.
calm demeanor, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think that's really good. I love to see where it's going. Graham Mertz, continue being a field general. Continue being a field general and do the things that you need to do for this team to succeed. And you don't need to go out there and throw 300-400 yards. I'm sure when you do, it's great. But at the end of the day, I love what he said to Holly Rowe at the end of the game when Holly Rowe interviewed him from ESPN, when he talked about being blessed to be here and starting up in Wisconsin, to be here and with this opportunity in front of this fan base. And he's up, just the kid, you can tell there's a lot of humbleness, just genuine ability inside of him. So that was great to see. And just hearing Napier talk, at the press conference this morning, he was angry, not just he and the team, angry, embarrassed for 2 weeks because of the Utah game. And it's interesting to me to hear him say that last year's team couldn't handle a certain level of success. And we have to stay
I heard
humble,
that. I
right?
heard that. Yep.
Right? So we have to stay humble in how we prepare. We have to take ownership and personal responsibility. Like, what? Wait, is this a life class or is this a head coach? It's both, you know? And so we look at the different things he's mentioned on that side, and I'm looking at just what he expects out of coaches and players. It's all across the board, right?
Yep.
And how we talked about the fact of the matter is we have a new set of problems, and that we need to face them in the best way possible through principle centered leadership. Like, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Exactly.
So as far as that goes, we're seeing it more and more. We see the C word come into play more and more in culture, and it's just it's being lived out, and we're coming up through. I mean, Charlotte knows not a go, but after Charlotte, it's going to be a nice little gauntlet, nice little test to see what we're made of, and I think that's going to make or break the season.
Yeah, I think you're right because the end of the season is brutal, as we have discussed, right? Those last four games are murderer's row. And so we're gonna need to get something done here early because those last four, frankly, if we go 2-2 or uh, yeah, I'd be happy with 2-2
Right.
because they're going to be very difficult. Um, love those points. I think you bring up some really good stuff that I could delve into for another hour. I will not, but
Yeah,
really
yeah, that's fair.
really good stuff there. Um, this win, though, really the way we got this win puts us in a really great place potentially. Now, there is a potentially there, and that's a good point that you bring up about Napier talking about last year's team and how they didn't handle success or momentum the right way, right? They were very up and down,
Yep.
right, and lacked that consistency. I think what's interesting is there was somebody else on that team specifically that was up and down and lacked consistency. For those that
Heyo.
watched last year, I'm talking about AR. And I think that's where Mertz can actually really make a difference here. Ironically, even though again he's not the talent, we understand that AR is, but his consistency and his leadership can really make a difference there in some ways that we just didn't have last year. So I'm interested to see that to your point. But we have another easy opponent coming up. I want to see us build on this success, not rest on our laurels, right? I don't want to see us just stay the status quo and oh, okay, we're good now. Don't worry about it. I don't want to see that. I want to see us still out there flying around on defense, making all those plays, right? Doing all those things that we've been doing so far this year, really in every game, to be honest, right? Not quite as good against Utah, but really it wasn't bad. We talked about that, and obviously it's gotten even better since. So I really want to see us come out strong next week, and obviously going forward through those games you mentioned, but especially we'll focus on the next game here one at a time, right? Especially because you are going to be missing a couple of starters on the offensive line, right? How does that affect things? Where do we go
Hmm.
from there? Fortunately, this is not a team that has a great pass rush, so it shouldn't bite us too hard as far as that piece of it goes. But how do we run the ball when we don't have Damian George and Michael Mazuka out there, right? I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be we're going to have to figure that out a little bit. Might have to tweak some things going into this week, not having them for the first half, as you mentioned, because of those suspensions. So we'll see what happens. Um, but I'm really excited about where this team is headed and the potential that it has. And I think, to your point about Napier, and I'll go just a little more on this and then I'll let it die. But
Yeah, yeah.
the way he's building this program, the accountability and the fabric that he's developing on this team gives it the potential, and I don't just mean this year, right? I mean going forward. it gives us the potential to really be great. The culture that he's building, don't underestimate it. Don't say that, oh, it doesn't really matter and everything else. It does matter. This is the stuff that holds you together when you don't have your best game, when you're playing a opponent that you should beat, but then don't, right? Which we've seen happen many times. Randy, so that we've
Oh
seen it
boy,
come up, right?
are you kidding me?
Right. Well, I mean, it's an example, and that's just a recent one, but
It is.
we have countless of them, right? But
We
as
do.
he continues to build this, he potentially creates a team long term here going into the future that has a sky high ceiling, right? I mean, it is way up there when you mix that with the talent that we're looking to bring in. So there's a lot of really good potential things that come out of this game and where we go going forward. And I just hope that at least the majority of them come to fruition. That's what I would say in regards to this. So really good stuff. All right. So now time for Keep It or Pitch It, our favorite little game we play each week. So first things first, we will take a step back here and take a look at where we were for last week's Keep It or Pitch It. So
Yeah.
let me get up to that in my notes real quick here. So last week's Keep It or Pitch It, Tennessee total plays per game. Now, this is an interesting one because we found varying numbers. Again, I don't understand why stats don't align on something as simple as how many plays a team ran, but they're not the same. So we found a couple sites that actually said 63, which was our number, 63 or less. But the
Yep.
majority that we found said 64. So we're going to take 64 as the number. We both said pitch it here. We were both right. So we were correct in that our keep it or pitch it prediction that we would go over 63 plays, but man, we just did, and um, I loved how we limited their time of possession, their ability to make plays, right? Because they just didn't have as many. Again, Tennessee was averaging 75 yards per play, or 75 plays per game, excuse me.
Yep.
75 yards per play would be crazy.
It would
um,
be. That's
so
unreal.
we 64 is the number. We both said pitch it, so we were both right. So that's number one. Moving on. Tennessee is allowing 270 per game for their first two opponents. Florida will account for 350 or more of total offense. Man, you kept this. I pitched it. This is as close as I bet will come all season. 349. 1 yard from the number. 1 yard from the number that swung this. It's unbelievable. Couldn't be closer,
Depends on the
right?
source.
Yeah, well, that's true too. I, I think you could probably find one that says more, so I don't know. So we're gonna call it 349.
Yep.
And so I pitched this, you kept it, I got it, but I mean that almost should be a tie at
Right.
this point, right? Last one is Florida is currently averaging 6.52 yards per play. That was coming into the week. Tennessee's 6.37. Florida will average more yards per play than Tennessee. I pitched it, you kept it. They did
Yep.
average more. They were just over 6. We were just under 6. So it was close, but they did actually average a little more per play than we did overall. So that brings our season score up to 4 and yeah, 4-1 for me. Sorry, get my math right there. And 1-4 for you. But it is early and we can turn, definitely things can turn as we go. So with that
Oh
in
yeah.
mind, let's play a little keep it or pitch it for our game against Charlotte this weekend. So
Charlotte.
first, yes, the mighty 49ers, which is really confusing to me. Um,
Shouldn't they
but
be on the
whatever.
West Coast?
Should
Whatever.
be
Okay.
in my mind, but whatever. Um, so Charlotte is our first keep it or pitch it. Charlotte is allowing only 77.8% conversion in the red zone, which is actually pretty good. Um, Florida will be at or above our season average of 85.7 in this game. Keep it or pitch it. What you got?
All right. 77 red zone. Florida will be up averaging 85.7 this game. I am going to keep it.
All right. All right. Confidence in the red zone effectiveness against a subpar opponent. I like it. This one was really on the fence for me. I am going to disagree with you. I think because they clearly have the ability to do something in the red zone against some teams, right? They're allowing just over, 3/4 of the time for points of any kind. And again, this is points of any kind to be scored. I also question our field goal kicker. Um, and
Oh,
that may have factored into my decision, but I am going to pitch this one.
okay.
But it's close. It could definitely go the other way, right? We both pitched it against McNeese, and then they did 100%. So I really think it's possible um, that they do get this, but I'm going to go with pitch it. I'm gonna take a different side of it just because I don't trust that red zone play calling still, and obviously the special teams. So all right, number 2. Charlotte has given up 9 sacks already this year. They're averaging 3 sacks a game. The Gators will have at least 5 sacks in this game. Now, I went this high. I'll preface this because obviously that's well above their average and well above our
Oh, yeah.
average, right? Well above our average. Um, I went this high because it is an inferior opponent, right? Not the same talent level, not even close, right? And in addition to that, I think Armstrong has been actually a little softer and a little lighter in some of his blitz schemes than he's seen. I don't think this team's going to inspire any fear. I think he's going to go after the quarterback hard here in the way that he very much likes to do. And I think they're going to get that done. So I am keeping this, even though it is a big number of 5. What you got?
Wow. Okay. Holy smokes, Batman. I've got pitch all the way.
Okay. Okay. I love it. As if
Oof.
anybody again is first time listening to this, we almost never agree on these. That's why I'm 4-1 and he's 1-4. So there you go.
There you go.
So far we are pretty diametrically opposed here. So, but yeah, I can totally see a pitch here. No argument there. Again, we try to pick these to be difficult to pick on one side or the
Yep.
other. That's
Yep.
the whole goal, right? And we'll go from there. You want to read us the last one there?
Let's see. Let's see. Which one are we going last one?
The points per game on Charlotte.
That's right. So we did decide on that, didn't we? Okay. So Charlotte is averaging 23 points per game, and Florida will hold them to 10 points or under. Ben Mix, are you going to keep it or pitch it?
I'm going to keep it, buddy. I believe in this defense. I think they are going to easily do that. I think they may get it an actual shutout as opposed to the shutout we should have had against McNeese. I think that's on the table. I think this team's fired up. I think this defense is fired up. I think they are going to shut this team down and play some pretty serious defensive football this weekend. Especially, I think that I will throw this in because I think our offense could have a little bit of a hiccup in the first half without some of our offensive line starters there. I think the defense is going to see the need for that. They're going to feel the need for that, and they're going to come out balling. That's my take. I'm keeping it. What you got?
I'm going to keep it all the way.
All
All the
right.
way. Because especially when you look at what happened against Utah, fine, I get it. But McNeese and now Tennessee, just get them at 16, which arguably we could have kept them at 10 and below. I'm going to keep it, man.
I like it. I like it. All right. So again, disagree on 2, agree on 1. So we'll see what happens come next week,
Hmm.
and hopefully we are uh, keeping this thing going. No pun intended. Because
Right.
I love this game. I think it's really great to kind of look at some things that we see as being you know not necessarily keys to the game or anything like that, but just some takes that we like to have a little fun with on this. So I'm loving that. Good deal. So with that, kind of tie this back, really want to just talk about how we mentioned a couple times last week. This is unscripted. It's scripted for each of us in terms of not scripted, but we have notes, right, that we talk to, points that we want to make, obviously. But we don't talk about these before we do this broadcast. We try to make this as unfiltered, right? In our vision, we talk about that being unfiltered conversation, not knowing what the other one's really going to say before we say it. We do align a lot, but that's just because we, tend to see things the same way on certain areas. But we also certainly disagree, as we talked about. And really, the whole point of this for us is just to have these conversations and give us an opportunity to really dig in and talk in depth about Gator football. And so we hope that everybody who's listening is enjoying it. Thank you for listening. If you are, Appreciate it very much. But also thank you, Randy, as always, for just some really good conversation, and look forward to doing it again next week, man.
Oh yeah, brother. 100%. 100%. Echo those sentiments.
Good deal. So, with that, wherever you are and whenever you may be listening, thanks for taking the time, and we'll see you around, Gator Nation.